So we all know that we can get great shots with just a single light. But half the time when we look at videos about this, videos on YouTube, we just see the light put in front of the model, nice and simple, done. That works, but let's explore a few more things you can do with just one light. Hey there, welcome to my studio in New York City. I'm Daniel Norton here with Irene. We're here for PPA and we're gonna talk about shooting with one light. Instead of just taking the light, okay, we are gonna do that first, but instead of just taking the light and making one pretty shot, we're gonna mess around with position of light to get some different ideas, some different vibes, and also some different modifiers. So we'll start off with a nice, pretty open light, which is probably the way you wanna start with this kind of thing, and then we'll work our way into some stuff that's a little more dramatic. So I'm gonna come over here. I've got a Profoto Light here in a 3-foot Okta. You know, I've said many times, not that everybody listens, no, but I've said many times that if I only have one light source, I like to have an Okta. And this is a good size for portraiture. Basically, what we're gonna get here is a light that will have a lot of coverage. It's big enough to give us a 3/4 or a headshot, and it's gonna be nice and clean and simple and pretty for Irene. So come forward for me. Good, right there. So what we want to do here is frame her up. And I'm shooting horizontally here, of course. We're going to frame her up. Now the box should be above eye level, and we want it to be relatively close. It's a 3-foot Okta, so we want to keep it about 3 feet away from her, maybe a little bit closer if we want. The closer it is, the softer it'll be, but also the more dramatic the fall off. So we're going to do a quick test shot here, and let's see what we get. I'm in TTL. I'm shooting at 200th of a second, f6.3, ISO 100. The test shot. Okay, and we can see, nice and simple, beautiful, even light, easy, right? This is a great modifier for this. So we're gonna put a little bit more in the center. And when you're gonna put your light in the center like this, just kind of watch to make sure it's not, you know, you can take your hand like that and look through the lens, make sure that you're not getting it in the shot. So we'll shoot a few nice kind of clean headshots like this. This would be great for like a headshot if you're gonna do any acting, or probably the front of like a comp card if you're gonna get that something printed like that, maybe a banner, you know, it's just a nice clean headshot. So here we go. Let's work through a few expressions. Pretty. Bring your chin up a little bit. Good, nice. Good. Kind of bring your hair back to open up your face a little bit. There we go, that's it. Pretty, good, like that. Good. Really easy. You know, with one light, just firing away. Nice, clean, pretty shots. Easy like that. You know, and I like to shoot horizontal for these things because I find that we get a good kind of range of space around her to move around. You can obviously shoot vertical if you want, depending on your format. One thing I did notice is that once we started cranking away and she was moving around, the TTL has changed our exposure. What I normally do here, and I'll do it now, is we'll switch to manual once we get an exposure we like. So let's actually jump back and do that. So looking at the camera again, I'm gonna go in and I'm actually gonna go in a little closer. I'm gonna take a nice shot and we're gonna take a peek. Okay, so this looks good, skin tone wise. I think it could be a smidge brighter. So what I'm gonna actually do is come over here in my adjustments and I'm just gonna bring it up a smidge. Now, yeah, you could just do that and leave it like that in post, but I'd rather get a cleaner, better exposure. So that's like 0.2 of a stop. I'm gonna come back over here. We're gonna switch to manual so it locks in our exposure, but then I'm gonna take my light and I'm gonna bring it up 0.2 of a stop, and we're gonna take another shot to make sure we like it. There we go. That's really nice. That gives us a nice skin tone. We can see here, if we look at the kind of the neutral of her skin, and then we look at the histogram over here in the corner, like see where that line is? That's about what we want it for this skin tone of Irene. So I'm gonna pull back a little more in my lens, and I'm gonna shoot a few more. There we go, that's it, just like that. Good, beautiful. Right at me. Good, good. Push your chin out a little bit like a chicken. I'll go this way. And then chin down a bit. There we go. Down. Smile, good, like that. Beautiful, good. You see how easy this is? It's kind of flawless. It's almost too easy. One light, simple. You'll notice too, by the way, that the background also has some light on it. This is, of course, from our flash, because if we take a picture with no flash, we're going to see we have an absolutely black background. So here we are with our single light, 3-foot light. Part of this is this. The light is 3 feet away from her, right? And it's close enough that it's nice and soft and giving her good coverage, but it's also not that far away from the background. So what we're getting is spill. We're getting kind of a nice even light. Is the background the proper exposure? No, of course not. It's darker because it's further away, but it works. If we want the background to be lighter, we can just move our whole set closer. And by keeping the light up above her the way it is, we should eliminate most shadows in this kind of framing. If I get her too close to the wall, of course, and I shoot her full body, we're going to see a shadow. So if you don't want a shadow, that could be a problem. Let me just quickly demonstrate that because I think it's an important thing. Step back almost to all the way to the wall. You see that line back there? Yeah. So if we have her go there and we move our whole set forward. Now remember, I was using TTL, but I've switched to manual. So I need to keep this distance the same. So I got to be careful about that. One thing you could do is if you're unsure and you weren't thinking about it, you could just switch back to TTL and get another baseline shot. So here we are, she's closer to the wall. And we're going to see what we get here as far as the brightness of the wall. This also makes me have to walk more, so I get my exercise. But we can see now how much brighter the wall is. So with a single light, we really have to consider how far away we are from our background if we want our light to also light the background, which we do in this case. So that's a pretty good exposure. I'm going to lock that in. Let's take a few with the lighter background. Good. Good. That's nice. Good. Let me trim down a smidge. Good, right there. Nice. Good. Good. One more. There we go. Easy. Almost too easy. Almost too easy, right? Now, let's create a little more drama though. So using that same kind of thought process, if we want our background to be darker, we got to move away from it, right? So we're going back and forth. So if we come back here, so come up to me, yeah. I'll move the light. And we're going to actually take the light, go a little closer to the camera. There you go. We're going to take the light and we're going to position it kind of behind her here. Now, the reasoning for this is what some people sometimes call short lighting. And what it's going to do is create effectively shadow on this side of her face, right? Because the light is on that side of her. So we're going to have you almost, you're going to have to work almost like a 3/4, like this way, face off this way to your face. There we go. So she's looking off this way, you a little more. Good. I'm going to frame myself up here. All right, so we have her here. And the heat's coming on. You can hear that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn on the modeling light so you guys can see a little better. And we can see, let me show you through the camera. Now we can see how the brightness is coming from behind her. I know it looks flat, but that's not what the photo is going to look like, obviously, right? So we're in TTL again. Let's kill the modeling light and let's take a quick shot. So looking off this way, like just look right here with your eyes. There we go, just like that. And here, we've got a lot more drama, right? We can really work this a lot more though. Here we have the light coming from behind her. It's not the greatest shot in the world, but we have a little bit more drama, right? What we've got here though is some light is kicking on the ground and spilling around. This is also not the best possible position for the light on her face. So we can work this a bit. One tool that will help us do that is a grid. So I'm going to put a grid on the Okta. Now, you often see people throw grids on just always, but really the point of the grid is to give you control. So here we want control, right? So to put this on, if it takes me a long time, then we'll play some kind of like silly music and we'll speed it up. Probably not, but you know, just in case. We're going to put this on and this is going to give us control. This is basically going to allow us to shape the light more the way we want it. Okay, so for the purpose of the video, I think what I'm going to do is, and of course it's bright in here, but we're not using any of this daylight, but we're going to take this light and put it here. We'll turn the modeling light on. So we can see where it is, and I'm going to kill these lights in the space. At least this one. So we can see it a little better. I'm gonna turn this guy out of the way. Okay, so now, if we go like this, we can see that with no flash, you can't actually see it because I'm not showing you through the camera. So we can see that with no flash, it's black, right? So this flash is going to be all the light that's in the space. Bring your face this way more. I'm going to raise it a little bit because I want the light to go up over her nose. This is going to come around like this. Bring your nose this way a little bit. Right there, stop. Good. Testing. We'll test shot here. And this is just going to require, in this bright studio, it's going to take a little bit of finessing, but we can see that we're starting to get it exactly where we want it. We can see the difference between, this and this, right? Still, it's the same light. It's just modified more. So what we want is just maybe a smidge more light on that eye. So I'm just going to have you turn a little bit more this way. Good, like that with your whole face. Right there, stop. And let's see where that's at. I might actually raise the light a little bit. Yeah, there we go. See, now we're getting real shape to the face, real kind of emotion with this. We can create all kinds of vibes with this. I'm going to change the angle a tiny bit. And again, this kind of stuff comes down to finessing it to get the exact vibe that you want. So raising it and tilting it down will get the light around her nose a little better. So you're going to bring your face right to here. You can look right here with your eyes. Hold. I'm going to take a couple shots, so stay there for a second. I'm going to go here to show you guys the difference. There we go. And then I'm going to have you turn a little bit more towards me. Right there. Good. You can be dreamy. Be dreamy. That's dreamy. Yes, there we go. She's thinking about. And you see how she's gone into the darkness? This is where we got to be careful. So bring your nose back this way, then down, right there. Then just open your eyes and look straight ahead of you. Good. And we can see by bringing her that way, we get a little more light on her face. So depending on what you want, like here, we've just got a little bit of catch light. Here we've got, see, I'll bring these smaller so we can see them. A little bit more light. Let's see, a little catch light there. Here it's too far, right? That's too dark. And really here, I think we've got the ideal. This is where we're getting that beautiful triangle of light coming across her, nice skin tone, everything's good. So you want to play around and see what you like the best. So kind of there seems to be the best for this kind of angle. So right like that should be good again. Let me test it. Yeah, bring your face a little more towards the light. Right there, an eye straight ahead of you. Good. There we go. Just like that. And that's the angle. The more dramatic you make the light, the more precise you have to be with your posing, right? In the first shot, big, open, easy, right? Put somebody in front of the camera, they've never been filmed before, it's not going to be an issue. They can go wherever they want, they'll be fine. Here, we need to be a little bit more tighter with our control. So that's kind of your dramatic back and clean front with this one light source. But what if we want to do a nice kind of crisp beauty shot? For that, we're going to use, I know, surprise, surprise, a beauty dish. So let's switch this out. Put this over here. Now we're going to grab this beauty dish. So, of course, the beauty dish is a smaller source. And because it's a smaller source, it's going to be punchier. It's going to be harder. It's also silver on the inside. Also doesn't have any diffusion. So the beauty dish is going to be by its nature going to bring detail in the face. This is why we use it for beauty photography. People often think beauty photography, oh, big, soft light, but that's not really what you want to use. You want to use a punchy, hard light, and you just got to have the right model, right? A beautiful model, and I do. So easy. So one thing I am going to do a little differently than what you maybe have seen me do before, I almost always use the grid on here because the grid allows us to control the spill of light. However, I'm only using one light. If I use just the grid, she's going to fall off into absolute darkness, which could work, but we might lose her too much. So I think I want to take the grid off for this one so that we can actually bring a reflector in, because it might just be a little too dramatic with the grid. All right. So again, beauty dish. And you can really, center this on her. Might do that for another shot later, but for now I'm just going to kind of do it a little more, just kind of straight on dramatic. And again, this thing's only 22 inches. So if we want to keep it soft, we really want to keep it in close. You know, as soft as possible, obviously. Again, it's kind of a hard light source, so we're not going to get super soft. This right here is in my A group. So we're going to take the B group, which is the big guy over there, turn that off. We're going to take the A group, and we're going to turn that on. Turn the modeling light so we can see where it is. And you'll definitely see when we take this, if compared to like other shots I've done with the beauty dish, that we have a lot more kind of space around. Good, that's in TTL. Make sure we can see now, again, punchy light. Look at that nice hard shadow, but it's still hitting the background. We're not just losing her in this big empty cavernous space. We can really get this in and finesse it and get a nice tight beauty shot. So actually, let me take it and put it kind of in more of a butterfly style like we normally would do. So I'm gonna have you step back for a second. So a butterfly style effectively means that we're gonna put the light centered on her face. The centered light is going to make it nice and even, which, you know, is kind of key for the beauty shot. I'm sandbagging it because now we're tilting the light out. Remember to always put the weight over the long leg. This is definitely a hard light. You know, if you're gonna drop a light on a model, you don't want to use a hard light. You can use a soft light for that. This is a hard light though. Okay. Kick it over a tiny bit. All right, we're gonna bring it up. Come in closer. A little closer. Right there. Okay, so I'm bringing it in close because again, I want the fall off to be pretty dramatic. Actually, back up a tiny bit. Right there. And I'm watching this angle. This angle determines effectively the shadow. The steeper the angle, the more straight down the shadow is. By keeping the angle like this, if she just keeps her chin either level or slightly up, she'll get nice even light across her face. Exactly, just like that. We're in TTL, again, silver, here we go. Now we can see, again, kind of like the first shot where it's just kind of like centered on her-ish. We took a lot of pictures, right? But you see the difference here. This is kind of glowy and open, where this one's a lot more intense and punchy. And we can actually come in here and make it even more intense by messing with the angle. Again, the tilt. If I tilt it more this way, we're going to get more shadow. Also, it's going to give us more space in the front. Because of my crop, this is going to be useful to us to get a reflector in there. If you obviously were shooting a wider shot, this might make it a little uneven because it's actually pointed a little lower than her face. Look right at me. Good. Yeah. You can see now how the shadow's coming down and giving a little bit more drama and space. Now what we can do is bring in a reflector if we choose. Again, a lot of times with this kind of thing, I will use the grid and we'll let the background go dark. But the problem with that here is that she'll just be an empty void. So here we're just going to kind of kick in a tiniest bit of reflection just to fill it in. If you're good. Right at me, intense. Good. Chin up a tiny bit. Right there. Good. And we can see. Oh, hold on. Did I use the wrong side of the reflector? I think I did. Okay, back up a tiny bit. Back up a tiny bit. There we go. Okay. I'm going to go like this. Good. There we go. Now we can see, we're going to work this pose a little bit. We can see how crisp that is. Like, look at that skin and the way it falls off. Look how nice that is. So we're going to work that with some kind of soft attitude. I'm going to come up a little bit on my framing. I'm going to back up a tiny bit to give me some more space. Really, I want to put this on a stand, but, you know, we're rebels here, so I'm just going to hold it. Okay, here we go. Testing. Let me just take a look. Yeah, it's perfect. Here we go. Good. Good. Yeah, right at me. There, like that, like that, like that. Good, good. Very nice. I feel like I'm gonna need to, oh yeah. We can see here the crispiness of this. Like, look at how crisp that is. So when we look, right, we've basically got three kinds of looks here. We have this real crispy, kind of almost sophisticated light. We've got this kind of shadowy, moody light, right? Kind of a little bit of emotion. And then we've got this real clean, kind of fun, for a smile, real fun, kind of clean light here. Let's go right up to the top so you can see the beginning of it. So many scrolls. All right, here we go. Right? And this is the beauty of it, right? We have this, right? Young and fresh, 17 magazine. We have this a little bit more kind of Marie Claire glamour, right? And then we have this as more kind of like a portrait. So with the single light, we're able to get a variety of images here pretty simply. And really, we just worked with the plain gray background here. If you were somewhere where there was an environment, you could then adjust your exposure to let some of the environment come in and really create a story with this light. Pick the light that's appropriate to the subject, pick the background that you want, the exposure that works, and you can create all kinds of stuff with just a single light. Does that mean you should never use more than one light? Of course not. More lights can give you more control, but don't feel like you can't create excellent portraits if you only have one light. Right? Yeah. Irene agrees? Okay, do all the good YouTube stuff. Check the subscribe button, the follow button, the bell button. Check the description, leave a comment. I'm Daniel Norton, photographer here in New York City. This is Irene. We're here for PPA. We'll talk to you soon.